always weird to get a... I'm just that makes pinball. That's the microphone's going in and out. We're good? All right. I want to say thank you for coming out and playing Dune and Labyrinth out there. Seeing those lines and seeing the happy people using one hand to flip a ball is really always fun for me to watch, especially the people that are confused with it. But once they get it, they thoroughly enjoy it. I do have to leave for a flight, so I apologize for this, but I've literally been in 5 countries in 7 days out promoting. And I need to get home and actually build more stuff for you guys to enjoy. So, without further ado, I'm going to give you Butch Peel, who no one knows who he is, but he does make really good manuals. He's also tech support for Barrels of Fun. And he's going to walk you through the process of Dune. And he also has a nice little announcement of an achievement that he has done. So, I'm going to leave it at that. So, Butch, I'm going to leave you in the hands of these wonderful, fine people. So again, thank you for coming up and lining up for Dune, playing the game. I know the lines are long, but just keep flipping, and I really appreciate the support. It means a lot to our little family, and we can't wait for you to be a part of it. Take care.
David Van Ness, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Don't think oh, there we go. Yeah, David Van Ness. We're like, so the little accomplishment that he's talking about is I just finished the Labyrinth manual. So yes, that was last Sunday, and then I started on my presentation for here, so lots of work to do. But all right, 275 pages, 6 sections, 1,550 hyperlinks. It's a lot of work, but 9.5 months of my life. There we go. All right, safe travels, guys. So yeah, we're very excited about that. Going to get that out on the website pretty soon. Then we're going to do something kind of special with maybe related to that manual a little later on. So kind of keep an eye out for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm really happy to be back here in the Seattle area. I love it up here. The people are great. The pinball is great. Just very happy to see everyone. While you're here this weekend, take a moment while you're in there. Look at these guys in the orange shirts and the guys behind their booths and doing the vending and taking care of machines, and just walk up, shake somebody's hand and tell them thank you for what they do, because without these people, we wouldn't have these shows to go. It's not like we collect Matchbox cars around here and it takes 5 minutes to set up your table. This is a lot of work that goes into this show. Let everybody know that you can, that everyone that you see, that you appreciate their efforts and are happy that they do what they do, because that's what allows us all to get here and just walk in and start playing pinball and having fun. So good on all of you. And thank you, Mike, Lorraine, and thank you, Chase, for all the hard work you guys do. I really appreciate it. Oh, let's see. Gonna talk about Dune. That's what the main idea here. I'll get off Labyrinth. But when we started Dune, I got to preface this with I wasn't all that involved with the building of Dune, the designing of Dune. I've kind of come up to speed on it over here. I just wanted to make sure that I represent the team and what they did and how much work went into this really well. I'm going to do my best to do that, even though I didn't do a lot of these concepts and things like that. I know how much work went into it. And I was busy writing your Labyrinth manual. Now it's time to start on the Dune documentation. So with all the cool features in Labyrinth, there was just one thing they didn't have room for, and that was a pop bumper or a trio of pop bumpers. So we can kind of check that box with the Dune machine. We also have a pop bumper now in the world of Barrels of Fun. And it's actually an interactive thumper bumper. So it has this, let me turn on my laser pointer here. So actually it has this thumper bumper that goes up and down with the action of the jet bumper itself. So when the ball kicks, the bumper goes up and down, and they can activate that, by the way, the computer or the ball can activate it by hitting the skirt around the base. So it's really kind of a cool thing. So this is an early concept drawing. So next you could start doing things like 3D modeling. You do it off by itself and then see what it's going to look like in the context of the play field with the wire ramps and the inserts and flippers and other things that interact with it. Then you can add some color to it, and then finally show what it's going to look like on the final version out there that you guys are all playing. So a lot of work goes into just the smallest little detail in this little jet bumper on the side over there. Very cool. Next up is the pain box. That's the thing that he was talking about, is watching people play one-handed. I can only say that when I take my hands off the flipper buttons, nothing good happens. It always turns out bad for me, so I'm kind of worried about playing this. But early on, the concepts here, they started out with a couple of different concepts. One of them would be to have that box sticking out in the left out lane, and actually the ball come to the box and be hidden from your view. But that kind of spoils the reveal aspect of it. So they came up with a better idea where the boxes actually move in and out off of underneath the bottom arch by way of a servo, kind of like the fiery in the bottom arch of Labyrinth. So here's a little video to play here to show. Yeah. Whoops. See if we can make this. Should have tried my videos out, I guess. Yeah, no. I see a plate there, but now I'm starting to feel like David Thiel up here. Make it up as I go along. Okay. Maybe so. There you go. Thank you. You're hired. So yeah, look at this from a few different angles. You can see this actually is mostly the model for the piece underneath, and that's what's going to catch the ball. I'm going to play it again here. You can see the little wall that comes down, allows the ball to be completely obscured from your sight. It's hidden back there. It's ready to launch back into play as soon as you succeed, and I know you're going to succeed. I know I'm not going to, but you will. And then on top of that would be a separate assembly, kind of like two assemblies in one. So that would be the part that extends the box. So we want the box to look like it does in the movie, so you're going to use 3D models for that. You're going to make it just the right colors, and then use the servo, as I was talking about earlier, to bring it in and out. So very cool interactive feature. So sometimes when you want to muck something up, you look around and you're trying to get an idea of size and volume, how to look, things like that, and all you can find is an old grocery bag. You know what? It works. So you can kind of crumple it up here, you can shape it a little bit, you can see how the mountains are going to look, what type of volume, and even the right color in this case. So that turned out really good. And gets you started for doing 3D modeling, where you can come in and do this. This is actually done in 3 different sections here. I'm not turning that laser pointer on anymore. That thing crossed me up. But so this is 3 distinct sections. There's a lower section, then a middle section, and an upper section. And you can see it here in the 3 pieces on the side. And then, of course, you can model that in color. And then you're ready to send off to the molding guys. You don't have to send them an old bent-up paper bag. You can send them a 3D model. They can print it all. Take a little of that gloss off there. This is early on again. Another little detail that always ends up biting you is how the finish, how you want rocks to look nice and flat color. You don't want them glossy and shiny like they've been coated with sugar or something like that. Not that kind of game. The harvester toy is another really cool thing, and this shows even early on. This little GIF here shows how they were planning to show that explosion on the back panel screen even from the very beginning. And somebody put this together to help people, the guys doing the video and the guys doing the modeling, and how the playfield is going to lay out and all that, so you could get a really good idea of that. So there's another concept drawing early on showing some cool lighting, backlighting in that. And then the many pieces that go into making one of these is shown in this model here. So this piece in the center kind of rocks back and forth within that shell, and then you're able to backlight it, and it makes for some cool lighting effects, and it looks like when you shoot the ball up under the harvester and blow it up, that it actually is recoiling from your shot, and then it's pretty cool. Here it is, perched up on the top corner above all the wire ramps and all that, and it's actually a little jump ramp that completes the kill. If you shoot it up far enough just to fall off, it's not enough to blow it up. You got to make the jump and get all the way into underneath the harvester to take it out. And then here's a final look into modeling to get the colors right and the perched on its sand dune, and then what it looks like in the upper corner of the playfield. Says save the best for last. That's the ball-eating sandworm. So I could try to pronounce the name they use in the movies, but I just embarrassed myself, so I'll just call it the sandworm. That's much easier. Here's an early concept gift for what we were trying to do with the sandworm, and that's to lift up out of the playfield and eat the ball and take it out. So very cool the way that works. In the final game, a little more detail shown in here of how we're going to use color and how you're going to make the decals and things and targets and things that surround the worm, and then a wire ramp that it's going to actually drop the ball onto, which is kind of cool too. So here's a 3D printed shell, basically skin of the worm, and shows the little companion worm alongside it there that you put in there for decoration, and how it's going to, interact with all of these different things that are going on, spinners and U-turns and targets and all that kind of stuff around it. It's very, very cool the way it turned out. And here's a little video early on of actually successfully doing what that little GIF showed. So magnet grabbing the ball. Very, very satisfying when that happens, and then the magnet comes back up. And that's all done with targets in here. It's kind of a cool shot because you can shoot the ball up right over the top of the magnet, and then it's just like a little bridge for you. But then you can hit it just to either side and not make this ramp here. And that's, these targets then can be used to score and close calls and things like that. But there's actually an opto that goes across this on an angle right here that tells you when the ball is centered over and on top of the worm in that down position. And then you get the whole playfield going, and here's another little running of that. You actually get to watch it on a full playfield. Now, if I'd have been doing this video, it would have taken about 10 times to get it up in there because I can't seem to make that shot, but they did it in one, and that doesn't show it dropping onto the wire ramp, but I think that's just a coup de grace. That's just the best final effect of all is for it to let loose the ball and just let it gently. It's such a nice return for multi-ball. I think it's a great feature. So you need to dress up the worm a bit and give him a nice home on the playfield, put some sand sculpts around him, give him a nice detailed outer skin, and you're going to model all of that, of course, in color. So there's the sand on either side of him. There's really detailed work of the skin and how he's coming up and dragging sand up with him. And then you need a little companion guy next to him on the playfield just for decoration. Again, very, very detailed, very cool, these sculpts. And then you can put it all onto the playfield. And you see that it really kind of comes together as a nice centerpiece for the playfield. Look at it from above, you can see all of the different targets that are involved in this, the shot that goes straight up through the middle. And you add a nice little mouth decal onto this to cover some of the metallic stuff up, and he'd be ready for prime time. Very cool. So the lower playfield on Dune, down around the flippers and slings is always a very important artwork area on a playfield. It's a place where your eyes are focused all the time as a player. You're watching around where the flippers are more than anything. You want a really cool background for that. So here's some early concepts for that area. Some of the early concepts are so early that they just kind of have really light sketches in there and maybe some suggestions written in. And here's the first kind of attempt at concept art-wise, revealing this open gate and the buildings and things down there. And it's pretty cool the way that develops into what ended up onto the game here. Much more detail added to it. You have some ornithopters flying in from between the flippers, and you're also working on your inserts in there too. A lot of the primary inserts on the game for all of your major modes and the things that your accomplishments and what you need to do yet and all that are right between the flippers there. So I thought that turned out really cool the way they did all that. Also started looking at some possibility of adding some 3D, some dimension to this area. So here's some early concept stuff for three-dimensional in-lane covers and sling covers. And then we printed up some 3D printing is great. So you're able to do some prototyping really quick in-house and get some looks on how it's going to look on the playfield. And then when you order your final parts, you see that on the playfield, the black color, and it really blends in, and it's kind of a cool, different look to the bottom of the playfield, contrasted here with what we put on the production games, which kind of follow the night left side and the daytime right side theme right down the center of the playfield. These, there's pluses and minuses to all that kind of stuff. The 3D stuff is cool. It looks more detailed. It adds more depth to the playfield. But the playfield plastics also provide a lot of translucency, where you got lights underneath here, and the 3D stuff is going to block those. So, it's going to be one of those things that you can order if you want it for your game. If you like that look, you can order the 3D printed stuff. And if you would rather have the lighting effects, the blue GI and the yellow GI behind those showing through, that's much cooler. And so the 3D pieces that go on the slings are also going to ship as kind of a package with an alternate ball shooter rod with this Chris knife of Paul Atreides. So that's kind of a cool shooter rod that's going to be an option for the game in the future also. And there's also plans to make an optional topper down the line. These games don't have the printed topper, but they have a multi-layer printed plastics and RGB LEDs going across the top, and it has an ornithopter, and so it follows the day and night light sequences and things like that. They made some final changes to that right before we started shipping games. So the first few games went out without one, but they'll receive theirs later. And these two are unfortunately part of that group that didn't have the new plastic and lighted topper that is standard on the game included with them. So that's going to be kind of cool. So in pinball, there's lots of really precise measurements going on when you're in the design and development phase. And most of what you're doing is making sure that a ball will comfortably fit somewhere, or can go between things, or won't get stuck in other areas. And you just start modeling a 1 1/16 inch ball and basically start sticking it all over the playfield and use it as your ball measurement. And a couple of balls can get here, or two there, one could get stuck up there. And eventually your model with all these balls over it starts looking like multi-ball in Apollo 13. But it's really good information to know how you can keep things to where it's accessible, it's a makeable shot, and it's not too ridiculous. And a good rule of thumb for a makeable shot is like 2 pinball width. If it's twice the width of a pinball, you ought to be able to shoot one of them up in there fairly easily. So good luck with that, though. Yeah. Like I said, I can't make it much easier. Sometimes, though, things that are going on top of the playfield kind of are out prioritized by issues underneath the playfield. Case in point would be this. Here's an early concept of that power, desert power field that's on the right side of Dune here, where they catch a ball behind the forks and it's activated. We want some action going on in here. It's kind of a simple, small portion of but you really wanted not to just the ball just go up and come back down again. You wanted it to hit in here and actually, trigger back and forth. And it's like a fight sequence, and you can, sync things from the video to all this and sounds and things happening while a ball is bouncing around in there. So here's how it looks in the final game. They cover up the rubbers and all that stuff with a really nice playfield plastic, a printed playfield plastic. You can see the ball still clearly here, but even artwork on the playfield works into it, and it's just a really cool looking area of the playfield. But then you start to realize how difficult it is to get some action in a small area like that. The real estate underneath the playfield becomes extremely limited, and you have choices to make. So here's an early rendition of it with trying to put a couple of slingshots in there that'll kick here and kick here, and you can see that they can hardly move underneath there without interfering with one another. You can barely get them to where you can mount them both under there and have them coexist. But when they start interacting with one another, it's liable to be a big mess. So a more elegant solution to that is to route out the playfield a little bit so that you can hide a magnet up under there that doesn't stick up through the playfield. But then when you're hitting some of these switches in here, you can trigger that magnet, and you can make all kinds of crazy erratic and dramatic type movements in a small area when you do that. So I thought that turned out really cool. So wire ramps, when you start trying to design wire ramps for a game, you're working on a slippery slope. You'll use coat hangers if necessary. All your clothes will be laying in the floor. Multiple coat hangers and plastic things to hold them together, and you're just trying to get some form. Is out the window. Function is the key here. So you're trying to get something that'll hold the ball. You're trying to get an idea of how much bank you have to put in things when you have a shot that takes up a wire ramp that's in the direct path of the main flippers here. That ball's going to be coming with a lot of steam, and you don't want the ball flying off the ramp. You want to control it, wrap it around, carry it around different parts of the play field. And so it's kind of a difficult process to do. Once you start to get a pretty good handle on that, you can go a little further down that rabbit hole and actually start using some copper pipe or copper wire here, solid copper wire, and making your cross braces, figure out how often you have to brace things to keep it in that general shape. And then knowing full well that when you get all this done, you're going to have to send this a sample one with some type of a tool to someone who does this, where they can actually take these wires and bend them and not just make one of them that looks like this, but make 2,000 or 3,000 of them. It becomes a lot more difficult. So a lot of work, a lot of thought goes into that, a lot of modeling, a lot of measurements, a lot of radiuses, a lot of all those kind of things to describe how a wire ramp goes together. And then every single time you get them in, they spring a little bit during shipping and things. You end up bending them a little and tweaking them. And even when you get them in a game and you get them in final test, they fall off the wire ramp every so often. You have to make some bends and a little tweaking to make them work just right. So it's all part of the final test. It's part of the first and initial white wood design, and it follows through all the way through production and manufacturing and all the way through the final test right before you get your game, and sometimes even a little beyond that when you call and say, hey, wire form's not working on my game, and we have to do a little tech support magic and a little tweaking and get things working. So very, very long, drawn-out process, wire ramps, but they are just so cool we can't get away from them. Eventually you get down to where you can do the entire playfield model, and you can do things in color. And this is in such great detail. It's really helpful for a manual writing guy like me, because I get the daunting task of documenting all of this stuff, and trying to figure out how to show you how things go and where the parts are and naming everything and all that kind of stuff. So it's a real challenge, but it's one that I thoroughly enjoy. So you got your whitewoods. You start out, it's kind of like Christmas morning. You just never know what you're going to get sometimes. So you can have the good here, which you get some cool ball actions and things. See that guy's knocking the ball up through and out the top of that, and it works just perfectly. And now maybe tweak it just a little more so that it ends up back onto the forks again. But that's not a bad first try at it right there. You had another cool interaction with the ball. This is returning the ball from the pain box, and it hits the ball that's on the forks. Not so coincidentally. I'm sure they've figured that all out with measurements and things, but it's still very satisfying to see that it actually works and does what you planned to it and gets both balls into play. That's kind of cool. You can have the bad, which what pinball player in the world sees anything wrong with this? Yeah, flipper's optional. Yeah, you make a orbit shot, and it's like, yeah, after you do that twice, you're like, yeah, I don't think I need to try that again. That's pretty repeatable. But yeah, that is not a good thing. And so this shows that you got a little bit of more work to do here. You want to be rewarded for shots. That's what pinball's all about. I take a shot, and if I make that shot, I should be rewarded with some control of the ball. I shouldn't be rewarded with chaotic behavior, random stuff, and frustrating stuff, even though it's going to happen from time to time. Even with work, that's still going to happen. And then you can end up with the holy cow shot, which this one's in slow motion. Whoa! That's a little jump shot that's supposed to go across here and into that hole, and kill the harvester. And look how that thing takes off. Whoa! And that's why you don't put the glass on your whitewoods yet. So kind of cool the way that's a jump ramp for sure right there. So the Dune printed playfield, the final version of the printed playfield, when you actually take a white wood and you can put artwork on it, you've got your inserts all set. A lot of work goes into getting to this point. This is another very satisfying step, and it usually just kind of takes your breath away when you see the color and you see everything on it, and even more so when you can look under with a light board underneath and see all the inserts and how the playfield's going to light up when it's backlit. That's a really cool time too. You can look in really close. I really like these little bitty inserts that you can then use to, put a single LED behind every one of those on a circuit board, and you can light these up. You can twinkle them like it's some of the glitter from the sand or from the spice and things like that. And those are in virtually all of the main shots have those little capabilities with the little tiny inserts to make some glitter and sparkle and things like that. And you can even use them to mark progress and things. So I'm not sure how they're used. I'm eager to get my game here pretty soon and start playing some of this too, see how it all works. So Dune lighting, a brand new feature with Barrels of Fun, a little thing we called Horizon Atmospheric Lighting, or HAL for short. Here's a video of some of this when it was prototyped and mocked up. And remember, if you feel sick during this ride, just close your eyes because the effect is primarily visual here. And keep in mind as you're looking at this, now there's not a single GI or insert light on this. This is all the lighting, that's the RGBW individually controlled lights running up and down, LEDs running up and down both sides. And if you have to get on an angle really from the side to be able to see. This is early on even where you could see it more from above. If you look at the games out there, you'll see that the lights kind of bounce off of the sides of the playfield more. You do not see LEDs in your face. These things are underneath. If you know, people that know, when you take a pinball cabinet apart, the channel that your glass slides into is like a C shape with a tab on the bottom. It's kind of like T-molding. And they route out the edges of the top of the cabinet, and that T-molding sits down inside there and provides the channel for our glass to slide into. Horizon Atmospheric Lighting is actually another piece that goes in between there. So we make the cabinet wall a little shorter. We add the lighting piece in there, and it's all wired into the cabinet, and then the piece that your glass goes into sits into the channel on top of the lighting stuff. So that's really kind of cool. And you can see that it's so dazzling. Travis here had to close his eyes while he was looking at it. He just couldn't take it anymore. If you look at I'm going to back this up just when I wanted to make a special note about this towards the end. If you watch towards the end here, as this goes into the night mode and explosions and red and things, see this now? There's individual lights that are on. These are actually acting like spotlights now from either side. So, and it's things that can change and move, so you can highlight different areas of the playfield. So the entire playfield's lit there by like spotlights from above on either side of the glass. I just think that's cool as hell. There's blinking Travis again. Sorry about that, Travis. So now with this new tool that we have, this lighting, HAL lighting, we actually can create the day-night cycle that's become a huge part of the rules and all of the shots and things like that in Dune. So you have one half, if you look at, I'll show you in a little while, the cabinet artwork, the back glass, the topper, the bottom arch, all these things have a day-night, split down the center of the playfield. Night on the left side, right side is daytime kind of look to them. And we can further accentuate that now with like mood lighting. And so here is the daytime Arrakis look. And then you can see when it switches to nighttime, from day to night. It's a really cool transition. So you're actually shooting during the game, you're shooting spinners, and the spinners advance. There's a big, like a light cycle that's going across from day to night, and you complete that half circle, and you switch from night to day, and then you start playing in daytime and switch back to night again as you go clear across that. And you'll see that as you're watching someone else play. It's very evident. So here again, side by side, night and day. And then because you can control all of them, you can make half and half if you want to do it that way too. And it's very, very cool looking, right? Split down the middle, half night, half day. The Dune cabinet artwork, now it's amazing to me how we can create digital artwork these days. And actually, you know, your canvas is your computer screen now, and you're working with these digital pens and things. So it's amazing what people can do. I mean, I can't do that stuff, but you know, luckily we have guys that are really good at it, and rightly so. So this again follows the night-day transition. So the right side of the cabinet is showing Arrakis during the day. The left side shows Arrakis at night. There's the front, right split down the middle, the front panel on either side of the coin door, and then the back box, left and right. So I think it really turned out very, very cool. This was definitely one of my oh yeah moments. Beautiful artwork by Jonathan Bergeron. The guy's amazing. It's like it's now the wallpaper on my laptop now. And is Johnny here? He said he would try and come by. I was gonna give him a nod, tip my hat to him, as it were, because that's pretty amazing what he did, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. He's also working up, as in with Labyrinth, there's going to be an alternate back glass option that you can get later on too. So very cool stuff. So Dune features. This company really takes a lot of pride in giving you good value for your money. A lot of things that you see on the games, and they turn out like they did well. The back box display and the back panel display on Labyrinth. You can see the little guys popping on their sticks, and sometimes they come up onto the back box display, and they kind of act with one another. And nothing like a back panel display to really kind of complete the world under the glass there and make, you know, it go off into like infinity and things like that. It's way cool. I really enjoy it a lot. The Everglass cabinet decals. So they look like a thick printed, reverse printed, so they're glossy on the top, but they're not so thick. They're a lot thinner. They look like regular decals, and they'd be a lot easier, I imagine, to replace if you ever need to. But you take a look at those when you go over by the game. They're very cool. We've got our own Infinity anti-reflective glass. David loves to come up with cool names for everything. You know, like you got your Horizon atmospheric lighting, you got your Evergloss, you got your Infinity glass. Pretty cool. Shaker is a Thunder from Down Under shaker motor. Yeah, so yeah. What are you gonna do? You got to toe the company line. That's what you do. Yeah. Horizon atmospheric lighting. Remember that, people. Write it down. That's important. Yeah. How? And then on the playfield, it's just amazing. A lot of stuff on this game. You know, we've got 6 balls now. We've got 3 flippers, 4 magnets in the game, 3 spinners, diverters all over the place. There's 3 diverters, 4 drop targets, and 4 places on the playfield where you can physically lock a ball now. So that's really kind of cool, because you'll notice sometimes you lose your ball in the game, and it's got a ball in like the pain box area there. It instantly shoots it back in when ball save is lit, and you hardly even notice your ball went down the out lane. It's already got a new one in play. So a lot of ball saves for some of these dangerous shots. So you can try things, you can hit stuff, and it not punish you by dropping the ball down the middle and things like that. So very cool. And that's about all that I put together for this. How are we doing for time there? Still got plenty of time. Look at that. I never finish early. What is going on here? Do we have any questions? Would you like to see some of the Labyrinth manual artwork? I could bring that up if you guys are interested in any of that. I did some really cool stuff in the Labyrinth manual. Yes, please. Yes, please? Okay. Let me bring that up here. Hold on. Yeah.
Hey, Butch, we got a question from the live stream chat.
All righty, go ahead.
Zavadoza asking, will there be a printed Labyrinth manual?
No, now you see you back me into a corner there because I did say there was going to be something special done with that. So, yeah, that's one of the things that we're looking at and doing it right. So, you know, look for this stuff to be printed really well, to make it something extra, to make it special. I don't want to steal all of David's thunder, but he's got an idea, and so keep an eye out, you know, Pinside and things like that. He's gonna launch something, and it's gonna be really cool because this is a lot of work, and it's the most detailed manual I've ever done. Pulp Fiction is damn detailed, but this one, he's got even more. So, you know, when I first started working for Barrels, this is basically what I was given to start with. You know, this is how you start a manual. You got a blank page. You got nothing. Well, okay, not nothing exactly, but I was given a game and a pretty good three-dimensional model, top and bottom. So that gets me started. But you know, then there's things like your new company, your new boss and teammates, new game, new mechs, new hardware control system, new software architecture, new part numbering system, you know, nothing intimidating about any of that, right? So I get going on this, and one of the first things I was asked to do was a picture, a diagram showing how ground and power were distributed throughout. So I did that first and foremost. Don't worry, you're not supposed to be able to read that. It's just supposed to impress you. So the Labyrinth manual, when you start a manual, the first thing you got to do is actually build the playfield. So I need a bird's eye view above and then one from underneath that shows everything, like the holes in the playfield and the routing and the spotting holes and the inserts and all of the flat rails and the ball guide rails and posts and GI and things that protrude through the playfield. And so you just draw all that stuff up and you do it in Adobe Illustrator, all the way up into, you know, start showing the playfield plastics here in blue and stacked plastics that are on top of that stuff on top of the plastics. You got all kinds of things like sculptures and things on top of that. And then there's the final there. And this is all done in scalable vector artwork. So as you zoom in, the detail gets better and better. So it's really kind of cool stuff. I'm going to kind of zip through these. This is the underside now. I'm just going to let it build by itself. And it shows all the different layers in Adobe. So things that are behind things are actually behind them when I show them on here. And I can go in after doing all this and getting this all put together. Dang, hide me. If they're asking, you haven't seen me, right? All the way down to light values and labels and things like that. And again, the details underneath too. So everything is zoom inable and looks really cool. I'm moving through some of this. So when you end up redrawing a lot of things. So here's things that to me don't look good. When you model 3D model, they fractalize things so much that you can't even hardly recognize what they are. So my solution is to take photos of them and actually redraw them myself. So you tell me which ones look better and more recognizable. Yeah, the ones with color, right? And so now once I've got the playfield model, I can show anything on the playfield and highlight it, like the Mylar protectors here. I can highlight the playfield plastics. And on this one, I even went to the detail of showing what every one of these little yellow hexagons here is actually a mounting point for the plastics. And then I can pair that with another drawing here that shows you that an A1 looks like that, an A2 looks like that, an E1 looks like that, and actually show you. I take great pride in the fact that if you were to take your game apart, I have enough information in the manual that without anything else, you could put it back together again. All the pieces and parts are identified and where they go, and that's not easy to do, but it's something that's very important. And this comes from a guy that restored old Williams games and actually took a piece of cardboard and started poking posts in there so I'd remember which one went where, because you know you can't ever see that kind of stuff. So I can call out different parts, like just little pieces like the circuit boards on some of these things. And I can make things that are difficult to see because they're behind things. I can make the things in front of them transparent. I can add color, which is a superpower in doing pinball manuals, by the way. And printing them that way and all that will be really great too. I can call out things like assemblies on the back of the playfield by looking through the playfield at them. So you see the things mounted on the back and where these things come from. I can do the same thing on the back. I can call out those, since that's where a lot of this stuff lives, they're easier to point out back here. I can use color for the different wires that run to each one. I can use color here to show optos and separate them from targets or leaf switches or micro switches. And I can bring all that out. I can even do wiring and show how exactly the coils are wired, right down to the colors of the stripes on the wires. So that kind of detail in these drawings. How to show how the lighting system goes together. And then just real quickly here, I'm going to show you the anatomy of making an assembly drawing, a really complex, simple / assembly drawing. So I've got this is the back panel for inside the back box, and Dune looks very much like this also. And so you look at that, it doesn't look too bad. So I'm going to put the original back up here in the corner, and I'm going to show how I do that. So this is basically what I had in the model for all of the back box. So this is what I start with, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot more stuff, as you can tell in here, than what's shown on there. How am I going to get that? But given the choice, if someone told me which one of these would you rather have, which part would you rather have modeled, I would have said that big metal piece that's got multiple bends in it, holes in it, and I have all the spotting holes and where things are going to attach. So that gives me a little bit of a head start. So I go in and I talk to the Fast Pinball guys, and I ask David Beecher for some models for the boards, and he sends me stuff. Okay, well, looking pretty good. I can also go onto the website for the power supplies that we buy, and they have 3D models. They're kind of thin and easy, but hey, it fills its spot. It looks like it's supposed to. So that's really cool. So now I've got all of these boards here, and I've got the 2 power supplies, and I've got all these little pieces and parts where you've got wires and things zip tied to the back panel. And so I take that and I put it into Adobe Illustrator by way of an SVG file. When I do that, I have all these things to correct, because a 3D model, when you put it into SVG, it's not a very elegant conversion process. So it messes a lot of things up. So there's a lot of cleanup to go in here and fix things. And then I add my superpower, so I put some color in there so you can see things. And then, there's a computer in the middle of this, and that computer, I can't get a model for that anywhere. So what do? I brute force it. It's got to look as good as all the stuff around it, so I hand draw that. So that's drawn, as well as the little holder for the ground loop isolator up here on the board. So those 2 parts are completely drawn by me, using perspective and all that stuff, and lots of hours and hours and hours. And then you start saying, well, okay, this is pretty simple. Everything just goes back onto that panel. So I will make dotted lines that show you where everything goes. And so I look at that and I'm like, okay, yeah, this piece of art I shall call Raining Dotted Lines, and it's terrible. That's not going to work at all. I got about halfway through this, and these are all done manually. I go through the process of when a line goes behind, I cut off the part that goes behind, and I fix all that so that I can have that kind of flexibility. I can use different dash patterns and things like that. All very boring stuff, but unless you're a manual guy, then you get excited about that stuff. So then I thought, well, maybe if I take them up and I move them off to the side and I make dotted lines, that kind of come on angles and show you moving something and then putting it in place, and yeah, that's much, much worse. So bad. So it's time to start all over again and go back to the beginning. Then I decide, I've done this before too, where I actually pre-place most of the parts in there. I show one coming in, and it's much more elegant. I can then point to everything else on here, and this is the finished product. I can point to all the other parts in here. I can use color, tells you where one starts and another ends, and then I can also put it all together and show it from a couple of different angles so that you can see. And every time I redraw it, I have to redraw these other things special myself and make them look right and make them fit in well. And then you put in a little table of parts at the end there and a mounting hardware, and there you go. So that's a little bit about what's in the manual for Labyrinth. It's going to be pretty cool. So now, any questions? Think we're getting close to 10 minutes out? Come on now, I've never finished early. I won't say I hate the guys on the internet like David did. That was just rude.
Well, we did have one question. I don't know if you want to answer it or not.
Let me know, and I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, Coco Mango Lol in the chat wants to know any spoilers you can share about the upcoming optional topper for Dune.
You know, having never seen it, I guess I'm pretty safe there. I can't. It's on a need-to-know basis, and I didn't need to know to write the Labyrinth manual. So yeah, it's pretty much how it goes. But I do know that it's going to be interactive. It's going to have some things moving, and it'll be much more three-dimensional. It's you know, think Labyrinth topper. That was, everybody still kind of goos and ahs about that. So think along those lines and imagine it with Dune and the ornithopters and all the cool things and explosions and stuff. Yeah, I'm excited to see it too.
SS Billards wants to know, what is the third game going to be?
Hey, Lloyd, how you doing, man? SS Billiards, I know that guy. What's the third game going to be? It's going to be a pinball machine. That's what Jack Graneri always used to say, yeah. So can't give away anything else. It's going to be cool, though. It's going to, yeah, I like working, so I don't want to give too many clues. So, yeah. I don't want to be that guy that leaks everything out, you know.
And that's it from the chat.
All righty. Anybody here? Well, I thank you all for coming again. Thank some of these guys that run this show. They're doing a great job, and I love being here with you guys. And you see me inside there, walk right up and ask questions or talk to me. I love to talk pinball. I can do it for days and a half before. So thanks, you guys.
Thank you.